Yes, my people, welcome to what was cracking on this week's Smackdown episode, and what an episode it was. The word that's being used to describe this episode has been throwback, and I 100% agree. I can really call back to the mid-2010s exactly what I was doing around this time period and what was going on in the world of wrestling. It wasn't always sunshine and rainbows, I'll tell you that. But this episode did a tremendous job on focusing on the gems of that period and giving you a nostalgic taste, which I absolutely loved. Before I get into the video, welcome to the channel. My name is Shah. If you haven't already realized, there's zilch on this channel, but that's about to change. I'm on a goal and I'm on a crusade to hit 1K subscribers by Royal Rumble season. I know it's not a lofty goal, but I want all of you, even if there's one of you, involved to be heavy on the journey with me. Join on the fun, show some love and support, give back feedback wherever you feel like is necessary as well. And in return for myself, you'll be receiving a plethora of WWE related content. Anything to do with WWE. It's not going to be structured. It's not going to be polished. A lot of it is going to be what's already been done. But that is the exact point. The more perspectives we have on WWE, the better. Even if sometimes it's toxic. It's the world of professional wrestling. It is what it is. But you're going to be getting coverage on weekly Smackdown and Raw, PLEs, ranking, tier list videos, which I absolutely love. I think that's when really the joy and fun comes in, is when we get different perspectives on where we rank certain things in wrestling. That's all going to be on this channel, and I've been a wrestling fan for about 20 plus years. My first recollection of WWE is back in 03. So I've sat through the dark times. I just missed the Attitude Era, but I've sat through the dark times. That includes the 2010s that I just alluded to, yes. But we are kind of in this little renaissance period, but now we're kind of not in a bit of a dip. It is what it is. We're going to go through with it, and on this channel you'll find everything to do with the world of professional wrestling. So welcome. Without further ado, let's get stuck into this Smackdown episode. Now this Smackdown episode opens with a bang. You get John Cena coming out to a thunderous ovation like he always does. Now, of course, his heel turn, he's still got a heel run, he's still got a tremendous ovation. Some of it was boos, and I think it was just because they felt like they were in on the work, because the heel turn, let's be honest, it started off great, it kind of fell flat. So I'm glad he's gone back to his factory default settings, because we can just openly love John Cena for the limited amount of time we have. He comes in and gives a lovely little promo around Chicago, and I never knew Chicago was actually the place where Cena came in, slap cut angle with his little weird tights, and started the whole Ruthless Aggression era, and also his run as well. I didn't know that was Chicago. So it's nice to know back in 02 this was the same sort of city, and now he's doing it again. And of course, in between, he's had a plethora of iconic memories. 99% of the time, the boy was booed within Chicago, but that just makes it more special. So he had a heartfelt promo. You get Sami Zayn come out, who, I'll be honest, the first time, I think, since his time with the Bloodline, when he's been a babyface, he's actually been booed. I saw this kind of coming. I think a lot of us did, but we also were on the fence. We kind of felt like this was going to be only kept online. And what I mean kept online is the sort of, hate's a strong word, but like the disliking towards the push or the way he is positioned and carried out in the company, and referring to Sami Zayn. You've got, you know, the whole underdog story, which has fallen flat. Thank God he alluded to that on Smackdown with Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso backstage a couple of weeks ago. Like, thank God he did that. It helped him. Because his program with Karrion Kross was a failure, because that really should have had Karrion Kross win out on top. I'm not sure why he beat Solo Sikoa for the US Championship, because where does that leave Solo Sikoa, who was just on a kind of decent run? I'm not saying his title run was amazing, but I'm saying his character positioning. He finally found his feet with the, you know, the whole gestures, the comedic aspect, and the MFTs. What the hell do you do with that group now? I don't know. But anyways, you had Sami Zayn come out, have a sort of discussion and a back-to-back chat regarding the whole US title open challenge that John Cena made famous back in 2015. And of course he faced Sami Zayn, when Sami Zayn came and popped his shoulder out because he got too excited on the, whatever they call, steel steps. And I thought to myself, wow, I can really remember that. I would have really loved if KO was still around, of course, if he wasn't injured and he kind of had this moment and this like standoff with John Cena, because that time period was amazing. So it was a really nice like roles in reverse here. I really dig it. Sami Zayn was booed, like I mentioned, maybe for the first time since he's been babyface. I'm not sure if this is going to be a permanent thing, or if this was because he was just against John Cena in Chicago, and Chicago is a very hardcore crowd, and they finally have reversed and they love John Cena now because they know he's out the door. And I think Sami Zayn is going to get a bit of that, hate. I'm not sure if it's going to be long term, or if it's going to be in every arena, or if it's just going to be in like places like hardcore crowds like Chicago. But nonetheless, they went straight into a US title match, which I really enjoyed. I think Cena's still got it. I think Cena, ever since that sort of throwback period to 2015, where he had the US title open challenge, wore his black t-shirt, I still remember. He had a US title imprint on his gut, even though he had a championship around it. He had the great matches with a lot of the sort of up-and-comers, Kevin Owens. Great title, not title feud, but feud whilst he was the NXT champion. Kevin Owens in the Sami Zayn program, and this was a nice little callback to that. Great match, to be honest. I think you couldn't expect more from it. I think the only gripe I have with John Cena is that boy just talks so much during matches. You guys might realize he's doing it more and more now. Considering he's in Hollywood and he's an actor and he's a very successful actor, you would have thought by now the boy knows how to sort of be a bit more discreet, but he's openly speaking. And that leads me to the end of the match where he does a super AA off the top rope and they fall flat, and when this happens, someone's going to kind of come out. You can see from the camera angle. If you've been watching wrestling long enough, when two guys fall flat in between a match and it's kind of angled from the corner, from the ring, the camera angle, someone's coming out. And during that segment, I felt like there was a bit of a delay. Like Cena again was having a full-blown conversation with the referee. I'm not sure if he was like, where's Lesnar? And then we finally get Lesnar. We saw it coming. Guitar riff hits. He comes out jacked to the gills. What I will say is, the Chicago crowd, I'm not sure if this is because we've just come on the back of the European tour, which was tremendous. Us Europeans know how to really get the crowd going, unlike some of the Americans. Chicago, on the other hand, is always been a top-tier crowd. I think it's the best crowd within the US. I felt like they weren't as loud. Of course, during the Cena segment and the end of the show, which I'll get into that juicy bit in just a second. I think the rest of the show, they were pretty flat. And I remember Chicago being a bit louder than this. I'm not sure if this was just me on the heels of the European tour and specifically like France being ecstatic throughout the entire show. I'm not sure if that's just ringing in my head. It could be. But I felt like Chicago was a bit... And I really saw that come to prominence when Lesnar came out. Of course, he was booed, and that's the response he should get because he's a heel. But I just don't feel like it was very loud. I feel like he just came out, did his thing, and I think Lesnar could kind of tell. You kind of see it in Lesnar's face. Like, you kind of feel like, it's not very loud in here. They probably expected a lot more. But hey, the program's set in motion. You've got WrestlePalooza, where Lesnar dropped a nice mention of it. It was hilarious. Backstage is so weird. And they're going to go one-on-one. John Cena versus Lesnar at WrestlePalooza. I'm actually looking forward to it. I know some people are giving it hate. It's like, pack it in. His stance with the whole lawsuit aside, I'm saying put that to aside. I'm not commenting on that. But just Lesnar's involvement back in the WWE, irrespective of what people say, yes, they don't need him. But it's not the point. He still brings this certain aura and feel to the world of WWE that just doesn't exist without him, in my opinion. And when he's there, he's like this big bad, like he's the ultimate big bad, like the T-Rex, that needs to be defeated. And as much as people are giving him hate right now online, again, lawsuit to aside, if it's hate towards that, I understand. But in terms of his need for wrestling right now, it's not just the program with John Cena, which is actually going to be quite good. It's the Bron Breakkers, the Gunthers, all these guys he can potentially go up with, next year, which I am so badly looking forward to, because let's not forget, Lesnar is a monster in ring. You go back to his O2 days, that boy can sell, do everything under the sun. I know Suplex City kind of overshadowed all that, but he can go. So I'm looking forward to this program, and I think it's necessary to have Lesnar and Cena go one-on-one during Cena's retirement tour. Lesnar's been a massive, massive part of his career, Cena's career, and he's always been that kryptonite that Cena can never really properly topple. I know he had a couple of victories over him, again, what was it, the returning match after Mania back in 2012. They had a hardcore match, and I still don't know why Lesnar lost that, by the way. But anyways, neither here or there. I'm looking forward to this program. I'm happy Lesnar's back. Again, lawsuit to aside. If he is guilty and that finds out, then screw him and get him out. But it is what it is. Right now, it doesn't seem like the case. I don't know the full details. I'm just talking from a wrestling perspective. Then we move on to Damian Priest versus Aleister Black, and they've been having this grudge sort of program. They had a grudge match, of course, on Smackdown now as well, which I thought was a decent match. I think their styles mesh quite well. The whole martial arts sort of aspect of both of them works really well. And I think Aleister Black sinking it into his teeth with a program with the likes of Damian Priest, a former world champion, is just, it just works. It works really well in that sense because you know, Damian Priest has that credibility, and of course you've got Aleister Black, who's just returned a few months ago. We need him to go after a credible threat. So I think the right winner won here as well. I'm not sure if this program ends here. It started off with R-Truth in the equation. He's just going back and doing what he does backstage. Happy to see him on TV though. But I think this program will continue for a while. I'm not sure where it will go, but I would like long-term Aleister Black to transition into a program with Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn being a face that kind of gets booed now. Maybe not long-term, but at least in this episode. And then you've got Aleister Black, the sort of cemented heel, to go against Sami Zayn. And I think long-term, I would love to see that US title on Aleister Black. I think since he's come back, he's not translated too well in the arena in terms of his crowd reactions. Online, it's been great, but I think we need to give him something a bit more juicy, even juicier than Damian Priest, to get him to be this. They're doing a similar thing with Rusev, who returned around the same time on Raw with Sheamus. We need to get a mid-card title strapped around Rusev. Same thing with Aleister Black. Then we move on to a sort of vignette program between Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton backstage. To be honest, not much to cover here. I think it was okay for what it needed to be. It's just two talented guys going at it and just swinging around who's got the biggest knob. That's all it really was. There's nothing really more to cover there. And then we move on to the women's side of things. So we had Julia versus Michin for the United States Championship on the women's side, like I mentioned. Obviously, Julia's being accompanied by Kiana, which I think is a really good duo. I think where Julia, of course, is naturally just going to be slightly weaker is the language barrier side of things. That's when Kiana can really come in. I think she does a tremendous job. That whole gimmick Kiana's doing is really, really good. And like her getting squashed last week, the way she sort of carried that out was just perfect. And I think this match was going to be whatever it was going to be. We knew Michin wasn't going to win. This was more just, you know, a victory for Julia to take. However, I really want to see long-term Michin get her flowers. I think she's been a workhorse for quite a while now on SmackDown. And she's really put in some of the work to... I know the US Championship has not been given the same love the Intercontinental Championship in the women's division gets. But for whatever love and sort of importance it's been given, Michin's been a big part of that. And I think Michin overall is just a really, really good worker. I think like her facial expressions, her backstage segments, in-ring, her entrance theme, like she's just overall really good and she seems really likable. So shout out to her, and I'll be really keen for her finally getting her flowers. And of course, right now is not the time for her to beat Julia. Julia's obviously on a bit of a mid-card title run and she deserves it. Of course, she's a great talent. But long-term, let's give Michin the flowers. Then we finish off with the juiciest part of all, which everyone is talking about, the final segment of SmackDown, which was quite surprising because it started off with Seth Rollins. So when I heard Seth Rollins' music, I kind of thought, okay, here comes Becky Lynch. She's going to come out, and I think by her trolling the audience with Seth Rollins' music, it works because they're showing the sort of the main reason why she became a part of the vision. She's like that troll within the group who's going to come out and maybe help the Bron Brons and help Seth Rollins in the male matches to be, you know, one up on the opposition. But then Seth Rollins actually shows up, which was nice to see. Of course, you know, seeing him on SmackDown's rare. Him being the world champion, he's standing in the stands where, you know, Jey Uso usually eats and the Shield used to reside, you know, a good 12, 13 years ago. And he's basically just sort of having a bit of a promo moment there, and then he calls his missus out, Becky Lynch, and I really enjoy that segment where like Seth Rollins is in the background and he's sort of like egging on Becky Lynch, and the way he's doing it in such a cheesy way just worked. It was hilarious. Anyways, Becky Lynch comes out, out comes CM Punk, as we knew this program was going to be the case because CM Punk mentioned it on Raw, SmackDown being in Chicago. They have a back and forth. Becky Lynch once again lays in the slaps on CM Punk. I say lays in, to be honest. She didn't lay in nothing. I'm not saying you got to take CM Punk's head off, but other than the first strike, it was like you're just stroking him. Like similar to on Raw, I think Raw was a bit more impactful. Like CM Punk was slightly discombobulated. Like maybe he just sold it really well, but like this SmackDown one was just like you're just playing with his beard, his face. Like you could have at least laid it in a bit. Anyways, CM Punk then teased, okay, are we going to get Bayley to come and save me? Shout out to Bayley, by the way. That new gimmick, split personality, much needed. I'm looking forward to that. Mentioned Rhea Ripley, who got a better reaction than Bayley. Bayley got like crickets, sadly, and then Rhea Ripley got like a bit of a got a bit of a pop. But surprisingly, not as loud of a pop as she normally would have if someone mentioned her name on the microphone in the arena. That's simply because she's being overshadowed by a potential return that everyone is clamoring for. And finally, we got that return when CM Punk went outside the ring and he just, in his typical CM Punk fashion, delivers on the microphone. He brings out AJ Lee, and we finally hear Turn It Up. You know, that theme song is so iconic in the sense of it's not hard hitting. It's very happy-go-lucky. It's very like, you know, fruitful, summery sort of vibe, and it works so well. When we saw AJ Lee, everyone just popped. Chicago was back on his feet. Finally, some energy with Chicago again, and boy, she looks shredded. She looks shredded. Tremendous. Great to see her back again on my screen. Tremendous talent, and she looks so comfortable. She looks so comfortable. Like, considering it's been 10 years, her last appearance was in like April 2015, post WrestleMania 31. That is over 10 years. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure she's not done any wrestling since then. Like, even in other sort of places or indies. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure she's completely just been off of it. So this was just amazing to see her so comfortable in the ring, and then she just lays it in on Becky Lynch, and they have the beautiful look moment at the end with Mr. and Mrs. Punk embracing, and Punk just looked like a happy, proud like husband. He really did. He was just like admiring his wife, you know, being back in doing what she does best. And we saw, you know, I saw this on Instagram. I saw Larry, CM Punk's dog, sat in Gorilla just watching on, and I thought, it's a very wholesome moment. So I won't lie, this episode was very wholesome. It was a lovely throwback, having Lesnar, Cena, Sami Zayn, and Cena doing the program with the United States Championship back in 2015. We have so many elements of 2014, like I just mentioned, with Lesnar there, and of course we've got Mr. and Mrs. Punk there as well. So it was a really nice, much needed uplift in SmackDown since they returned to the US, because like I said, other than the European tour, the product on SmackDown Raw has been a bit weak. I know it's the season, but it's been a bit meh. This was an uplift, and I am looking forward to WrestlePalooza, where my American brothers and sisters are going to pay around $30 for it, whereas us Europeans are going to pay $5.99 on Netflix, depending on your subscription, which is lovely. Anyways, that's it for this video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.